You paid for a wrestling ticket, and what did you get? A polite handshake, a 3-minute squabble? No. You paid to watch carnage, real, raw, arena-shaking brawls that ripped up the show and left the crowd gasping, screaming, and sometimes fearing for the performer's safety. Tonight, we're ripping open the vault and dragging out the matches that didn't just take over a show, they took over entire arenas. Get ready for chaos, glass, steel, blood, and the kind of moments that made fans feel like they were watching something illegal, and that's exactly why they stayed glued to their seats. If you think WWE is all choreography and lights, you haven't seen these. If you think any of these were overrated, tell me why in the comments, I dare you. Question for the comments: which brawl made you jump out of your seat the first time you saw it? Drop the match and the moment. Segment 1: the brawl that blew the roof off, WrestleMania X7, The Rock vs Stone Cold. No, not that one, the arena chaos moment. WrestleMania is supposed to be the place for climactic showdowns, not full-on riot scenes. But there are matches where the intensity leaks past the ring and floods the crowd. Picture WrestleMania's packed stadium, every seat full, every camera trained, and then two icons refuse to play by the rules. They are not wrestling for the title alone, they are wresting control of the entire spectacle. What happens when a superstar uses the arena like a weapon? When bodies fly into barricades, through tables, up into the crowd, it's more than a match, it's a spectacle of violence that rewrites the narrative of the whole night. The audience becomes a living, breathing part of the match, a chorus that roars with every strike and hushed with every near fall. Why this matters: when a brawl spills out of the ring, it changes the pacing for everyone. The cameras scramble, production adjusts, and the referee becomes a witness rather than a policeman. Fans love being witnesses, they feel like accomplices. That's the raw power of an arena-taking brawl. Trivial question: have you ever been at a live show where a match spilled into the crowd? Tell us the city and the match. Segment 2: Hardcore Havoc, ECW Spirit invades WWE, a different breed of brawl. Remember when WWE borrowed a little bit of ECW's chaotic spirit? Those were the nights when the rules felt optional. Chairs, kendo sticks, ladders, and yes, thumbtacks turned wrestling into street-level warfare. Some of these brawls came with a vibe that screamed authenticity, blood, injury, and the constant sense that one wrong move could end a career. These weren't meticulously staged cinematic sequences. They were messy, dangerous, and brutally captivating. The camera shook with the action, and fans didn't just watch, they participated with a primal noise that sounded like satisfaction or an ominous warning. Why this matters: hardcore brawls tapped into a deeper wrestling fantasy. What would happen if two men forgot to play it safe? Fans who wanted boundary-pushing violence got their fix, and WWE sometimes reluctantly, sometimes eagerly fed it to them. Trivial question: which hardcore weapon would you ban forever and which would you bring back? Vote in the comments. Segment 3: the fight that destroyed production, Monday Night Raw mayhem. There have been Raw episodes where a single brawl derailed the entire broadcast. Lights get dimmed, the commentary team loses their rhythm, and promos scheduled later vanish into the ether. These moments are proof that one fight can sabotage an entire scripted evening in the best possible way. Take a match where bodies spill to the announce table, where pyro gets misfired, and a steel chair becomes a central character rather than a prop. The production team scrambles, camera operators improvise, and viewers at home lean forward because the show no longer feels fabricated, it feels precarious, alive, and dangerous. Why this matters: such brawls remind fans the show is not invulnerable. They underline the illusion that anything can happen, and that's the engine of wrestling fandom. When WWE loses control on live TV, the audience's imagination starts running. They start telling stories about what really happened, and those stories spread like wildfire. Trivial question: what's the wildest Raw moment you caught live on TV or at the arena? Share the timestamp if you remember it. Segment 4: when legends waged war, old school blood feuds that spilled into the stands before camera angles and protective barriers evolved into polished spectacle. There were feuds that blurred the line between character and genuine hatred. Two performers hated each other so convincingly, or perhaps really did, that their animosity didn't stop at the ropes. They took their differences into the crowd, down the aisle, and even up into the concession stands. Fans felt like they were watching history being written in real time, not a scripted program. The crowd's reaction transformed those brawls into modern-day legends. You could put your phone down for one night and feel the electricity in the arena like static on your skin. Why this matters: those matches became folklore. Younger fans learned about them from the old guard, and each retelling added another layer of awe. When comment boards argue about the greatest brawl ever, these legendary wars always come up because they left an imprint on everyone who saw them. Trivial question: which legendary feud would you like to see rebooted in today's WWE and why? Segment 5: the cage, the ladder, the table, multistructure brawls that at the arena cages contain or are supposed to contain chaos. Ladders elevate danger into an art form. Tables promise destruction. But put these structures together or let them mingle with the rest of the arena, and you get theatrical wars that look like gladiators taking over a coliseum. Think about Wrestlemania ladder matches that didn't just hang a belt in the air, they turned ringside into a demolition zone. Fans remember the shots of superstars crashing through tables that provided the most visceral photography of a generation. The ladders became architectural features of chaos, climbing into the lights, scraping camera lenses, and burying the production's sense of linear storytelling. Why this matters: these are cinematic brawls, adrenaline-fueled, risk-heavy, and unpredictable. When someone flies off a ladder and lands in the front row or a camera operator's shot gets obliterated by a falling table, it becomes an indelible image. Those images sell merchandise, fuel YouTube retrospectives, and influence a generation of wrestlers who want to top that intensity. Trivial question: ladder, table, or cage, which would you pick to be in if you had to choose only one? Explain your pick. Segment 6: Celebrity and Chaos. When celebrities got caught in the crossfire, celebrities can be the lightning rod that turns a big match into a viral, arena-saturating brawl. Sometimes they are planted at ringside to boost ratings, sometimes they are collateral damage. Either way, their presence ratchets up emotions and transforms an ordinary brawl into a cultural moment. Think of the crowd reaction when a well-known face gets involved: the roar, the boo, the shock. The cameras pivot, social media explodes, and suddenly millions of non-wrestling fans are watching. That amplifies every punch and propels the brawl into mainstream conversation. Why this matters: celebrity involvement doesn't just increase eyeballs, it increases stakes. Every hit lands differently when a famous person is nearby because now a brawl has social capital to break. That pushes the performers to escalate, sometimes to the point where things get wild, messy, and unforgettable. Trivial question: which celebrity involvement in a WWE brawl was actually legit and which felt fake? Call it out in the comments. Segment 7: the crowd control breakdown. Fans versus fighters. Occasionally, the audience becomes a variable in the fight. Not physically most of the time, but emotionally. When the crowd stops being a background sound and starts dictating the rhythm of the action, the brawl becomes a living organism. Chant attacks, thrown objects, or a section of the crowd chanting in a way that pushes a wrestler to react. Those are the nights where the arena itself seemed to take sides. This dynamic changes everything. Performers adapt on the fly, reading the audience like a weather map, and sometimes that improvisation results in unscripted, wild moments. When the crowd participates, even the referees become secondary characters. The entire production grows a sense of spontaneity that can't be replicated on a retake. Why this matters: these brawls feed on the crowd's energy. They create a feedback loop where intensity begets intensity until the arena is vibrating with a kind of collective fury. The result is unforgettable. Fans leave flushed and exhausted, knowing they witnessed something living and unpredictable. Trivial question: have you ever felt your section of the arena influenced a match? Tell us how the crowd changed the match's momentum. Segment 8: when injury turned reality into horror. Brawls are supposed to look dangerous, but when they actually produce real injuries, the line between entertainment and tragedy dissolves. Too often a spectacular brawl turns into a sobering reminder that wrestlers are human and that their bodies are on the line. When a match yields a real injury, the arena's roar shifts into a tension so thick you could slice it. Camera operators zero in on the fallen body, the broadcast audio sucks in, and the commentary becomes a prayer. There are times this rawness is what draws viewers even closer than knowledge that they are watching something irreparable and that the fate of a performer hangs in the balance. Why this matters: such moments expose the human cost behind the spectacle. They make the audience confront the wrestler's mortality and, once broadcast, they catalyze discussions about safety, booking choices, and responsibility. These are the moments that change policies, influence future match types, and reshape how promotions protect talent. Trivial question: which injured superstar's recovery story inspired you the most? Share the name and why. Segment 9: the riot that spilled outside the arena. There's a special kind of chaos when a brawl takes over enough of a show that it spreads beyond the doors into parking lots, into streets outside the venue, and onto the internet in a torrent of fan-captured clips. These are the events where the night becomes a movement, and eyes outside the building pick up on the intensity. Drivers stuck in traffic remember the chaos for months. Social media shares clips at the speed of outrage. Local news runs a segment on the wrestling riot, and suddenly any pretension that the event was under control is gone. Those images, fans crowding exits, ambulances arriving, pyrotechnics accidentally setting up a scene, define the mythology of a brawl. Why this matters: when a moment escapes the arena, it becomes a cultural artifact. It's no longer a match you watched on pay-per-view, it's a story you tell and retell. It becomes part of fandom lore and the reason that decades later, fans will claim, "I was there when it happened." Trivial question: have you ever seen a viral clip of a brawl that made you seek out the full match? Which clip was it? Segment 10: Superstar Psychology. Why some wrestlers turned the arena into a war. So not every wrestler can pull off an arena-dominating brawl. It takes charisma, danger, improvisational skill, and a willingness to put it all on the line. Some performers are magnetically dangerous. They escalate a face-off into an all-out assault as if it's in their DNA. Others rise to the occasion, matching intensity and improvising ways to use the arena itself as part of their arsenal. This is an art form. Skilled wrestlers read the audience and bend the physical space to their will. They don't just fight in the arena, they fight for the arena. They use ramps, rows of seats, signage, and even lighting rigs to tell the story. That kind of spatial storytelling is what turns a match into legend. Why this matters: understanding this psychology helps fans appreciate the skill behind the chaos. It isn't just about damage, it's about commanding the space and making the audience feel like part of the war. Trivial question: which wrestler do you think is the best at turning a stage into a weapon? Name one and tell us why. Segment 11: Iconic visuals that still haunt the fans. Certain images from arena-consuming brawls are tattooed onto the memory of wrestling fans. A chair lodged in a cable guardrail. A wrestler's mask ripped in half under the lights. A camera lens smashed by a flying body. Those single frames travel across social platforms and grind into the collective wrestling imagination. Why this matters: a single freeze frame can define a feud. It's the visual shorthand fans use. Remember that shot, and it sparks debates about who should have won, how dangerous the moment was, and whether the promotion went too far. Trivial question: which single image from a brawl is forever burned into your mind? Describe it. Segment 12: The Aftermath. How these brawls changed WWE. Every arena-consuming brawl leaves a shadow. Some change booking philosophy, others inspire rule changes, new match stipulations, or renewed focus on concussion protocols and safety. Then there are those that don't change policy but change the audience's appetite for risk. A brawl's ripple effects show up in training rooms, in marketing strategies, in how future matches are filmed and sold. Some promotions learn it to harness the crowd's hunger for extreme moments while implementing better safety nets. Others double down on spectacle, letting ratings drive escalation. Why this matters: the industry's evolution is shaped by these extremes. Each brawl writes a chapter in the sport's history, sometimes a thrilling chapter, sometimes a cautionary one. Trivial question: which change after a famous brawl do you think was positive and which do you think made things worse? Tell us a reason. Take. Segment 13: Fan reactions. When the arena became a jury. When a brawl takes over, the crowd judges. They decide who's heroic and who's a coward. They form instant allegiances and ratchet up the emotional stakes for every move. That real-time jury can elevate underdogs, break villains, or force a promoter to make creative course-correct irons mid-show. That's what makes these matches so magnetic. The people in the stands are not passive consumers, they are active participants. Their cheers, boos, and chants become punctuation marks in the drama, and sometimes they rewrite the script. Why this matters: the most memorable brawls were not just performed, they were co-authored by the audience. And that gives them a life beyond the event itself. Rewatching a clip means you can almost hear the stadium breathing. Trivial question: which fan chant in a heated moment made you turn to your friend and say, "You can't script this, share the chant"? Segment 14: Modern brawls, cinematic versus live mayhem. In recent years, WWE has experimented with cinematic matches that are carefully directed and edited, and with live mayhem that relies on the arena's organic feel. Both styles can create arena-dominating brawls, but they land differently. Cinematic brawls can be beautiful, terrifying, and ultra-controlled. Live mayhem is messy, immediate, and unpredictable. Fans favor one or the other based on taste. Some want the clarity of polished violence, others crave the raw thrill of a crowd-driven riot. Why this matters: the industry's toolbox is expanding. WWE now has more ways to stage an arena-consuming brawl, and each one carries its own risks and rewards. Which style produces the better spectacle? That's a debate that will go on as long as people love wrestling. Trivial question: do you prefer cinematic brawls or live arena chaos? Vote and explain why. Segment 15: Closing the case. What makes a brawl truly take over an arena? There's a formula, but it's not a math problem, it's an emotional equation. High stakes plus personal heat plus audience investment plus improvisational skill plus arena utilization equals a brawl that takes over. Add celebrity involvement, safety risk elements, or a historic rivalry, and the match doesn't just dominate the show, it becomes a cultural moment. These fights target something primitive in the audience: the thrill of danger, the satisfaction of seeing a grudge resolved, and the undeniable appeal of chaos contained within the theater of competition. When all those forces align, you don't just get a match, you get an event that echoes through time. Final call to action: angry, intense tone. If you think these brawls were too much, if you think they were dangerous or irresponsible, say it now and explain why. If you think they were the purest, most thrilling moments WWE has ever put on TV, say that too and name your top 3. Don't hold back. This channel wants the raw takes. The court of wrestling fans is open past judgment. Trivial closing question: name your top 3 arena-consuming brawls of all time in order and why. I'll read every single controversial ranking and respond to the most heated ones. End. Quick sign off for the channel: no intro at start, but a clear ending. That's the Wrestling Zone 1 breakdown of WWE brawls that didn't just win matches, they hijacked entire arenas. Tell us the wildest moment you've ever seen live or on screen in the comments. Subscribe for more deep dives and heated takes, and share this video with a friend who thinks wrestling is all staged. Let's see their reaction. Note: I'll be pinning the most insane and well-argued comment for the next video. Bring receipts, timestamps or clips, and don't be shy.